Welcome to our Phantasy Star 4 bosses tier list. I recently did another playthrough of Phantasy Star 4, and hey, let's make a list. I love making lists. As always, our bosses are ranked on how much impact they have on the game and the story, how hard their fight is, how much fun their dungeon is, I'm looking at you, Lashik, and more importantly, how much I like them and how much of an impact they have on me. As they say on Whose Line Is It Anyway, the points don't matter. Before we start, note, I'm terrible with names, and this game has some fun names to pronounce. I also left off one endgame encounter from this list, because I find it hard to consider it a boss. If you know, you know. So let's dive in. We encounter Igla Nova in the basement of the Montavia Academy after being called in to investigate why monsters are coming out of the basement. It looks like there's a monster factory down here. In fact, there is. Some scholars brought back a monster machine from the Birth Valley ruins. Just storing that stuff in the basement was a great idea. I think old Iggy is a great first boss. He's got a design that can give you the Ghiblies and a great precursor to what you're about to uncover in this game. The battle isn't hard. I don't think it even attacks. It just spawns monsters you've already been fighting. But it's a bit of a new mechanic to the game. Oh, and he shows up again, but at that point he's just a speed bump. But he does introduce us to the fake-out endings the game likes to do. We're going to put him in B tier. The Sandworm encounter is my favorite fight in the game. It's just a hunter mission, so it has no impact on the story. Wait, what are hunter missions? Basically, they are side quests where you're given tasks by the Hunters Guild to solve mysteries, rescue people, and, well, fight big bad monsters, like sandworms. So why do I love this? The Sandworm is a mid to late game enemy you are tasked with fighting at around level 10 maybe, so everything it does to you is deadly. It hasn't been downscaled to your level. This is your learn to play the game moment, where you need to learn about Sanner, the speed buff, what spells work best on certain types of enemies, cast Wathan, you fool. But really, it comes down to a damage race. Can you kill him before he kills you? And that sounds terrible, but you can save right before you fight him. So there's no time lost if you fail. And I usually do this fight right before going into Zeoport for the first time, which means I'm grinding and killing this beastie brings you a huge amount of XP, sometimes 2 levels per character. I can't put it into S tier because there's no story here, or not much of one, but it's firmly going into the A tier. Before we stop talking about the Sandworm, I just have to say, whether it's Dune, Beetlejuice, or Phantasy Star, I just adore the concept of giant sandworms. Oh look, it's fake Zeo. He even has spells on a robe just like him. Juza is a boss you get on your first trip into Zeofort, whose only mission is to stop you from getting to Zeo, and he's not good at it. The only thing that helps him is that you just might confuse him for Zeo. Really, this guy isn't much more than a speed bump. I guess he could cause trouble if you don't know how to just heal, or don't heal. The only reason he's not getting a poser rank is, for a second, we do think he's important. Look at this little guy's feet move in his still animation. Adorable. The problem with making these boss tier lists is that you're going to have to make one for some bosses that don't really contribute much. Guy Lagia is one of these. We fight it at the top of the Ladia Tower. It was sent by Zeo to prevent us from getting the Psycho Wand, which we need to defeat Zeo. And that's all the story it gets. I do like the design. Designs in this game are top-notch, and, well, sadness happens after you defeat it. But that's really all he's got going for him. Oh, he does show up again, but we get stronger, and he really doesn't. I think we're gonna put him... I'm gonna put him in the B tier. We might go back and change that. This guy. Okay, be warned. We're getting into spoiler territory here, and you should expect that from a tier list anyway. He kills Alice. And he doesn't just do it quickly and it's over with. We get to watch her suffer in a bed and pass away before our eyes. Zeo is my Sephiroth. My first villain I encountered in an RPG to infect me emotionally, causing me to overrate what he is. But this is my list, and that's what we're gonna do. Zeo is the big bad for the first quarter of the game. He's the one who's been manipulating events. He's been responsible for the increased spawning of monsters. At least, that's what we think at the time. Even has an entire town that worships him and has formed a cult around him. He wiped out Grizz's entire village to top it all off, killing his family. Even Rune warns us not to mess with him. We fight him twice. The first time, it doesn't go so well. After we ascend to Zeo Fort and make quick work of Juza, we discover he has Demi and Android locked up. We free her, and then the man arrives. So the battle starts and we can't hurt him. He's that far out of our league. After toying with us, he summons the Black Wave, which hits Alice and eventually kills her. We barely escape. How the hell did we get out of there anyway? But when we fight him again, things have changed. We've got the Psycho Wand to nullify his barrier, we've got Rune with us, and all of us are hungry for revenge after what he did. It's not an easy go of it, but after he's defeated, you feel like you almost beat the game. And honestly, I would be happy if this was the end. We do find out that Zeo is a puppet for Dark Force and a whole new world, or system opens up afterwards. But to me, you are the real bad Zeo. And you are legendary tier. I'll always remember you, Alice. The Chaos Sorcerer shows up, sabotages our spaceship, and dies. He won't even last one round of combat if you attack all out at this point. I think he's an agent of Dark Force trying to stop us from getting to Koran, where Dark Force has set up camp and is messing with the weather all throughout the system. He'd be in poser tier, but he does get a tiny bit of story impact, and he does have one of those fun manga cutscenes. So we're gonna drop him in C, and we're gonna put him above Juza. Because Juza's a joke. I put a lot of thought into putting Dark Force as one full entity compared to 3 separate entities, but decided against it since some of these encounters are much better than the others. So let's call this guy Dark Force 1, since he's the first we encounter, and he's also the best of the 3. Dark Force has set up shop on the space station known as Kuret, and he's using this station to cause havoc all throughout the solar system. The game makes you think this might be the final boss. The game does that a lot, with a lot of fake endings where you think everything is fine, but then, loud noises, explosions, it's not. It needs to be said, Dark Force is a recurring enemy in the Phantasy Star series, either being the final boss or right before the final boss, so he's kind of a big deal. As you approach him, there's an oppressive feeling of dread, and then the battle loads and Dark Force is revealed in all his glory through a slow fade-in, which we haven't seen before. It lets us know, this won't be an easy time. Dark Force has attacks that hit all party members, a large helping of HP, and that means it's going to be a battle of survival that will test everything the party has. This also happens at the end of a dungeon, nowhere near a save point, so if you die, you're losing all that time too. Depending on your levels, he can one-hit some of your characters. Dark Force 1 has a lot of lore, history, and a solid design, and a hard battle. He's going in the Great tier, maybe even the S tier, but we're just going to remain Great for now. And as much as I love you, Sandworm, he's going above you. It seems like a waste to even dirty our video with this guy. The Elmlars is the boss you meet at the end of the Weather Control Station, which is an optional area on the planet of Desolace, and he hasn't got much going for him. His 700 HP burns down fast, and beating him doesn't solve anything. He does open a bit of a mystery when he says he's acting on someone's orders, but we've already defeated Dark Force and Zeo, right? He does call us morons though, so good for him. Clearly a poser. Get in the bin. Are the carnivorous trees even a boss? I guess. More like a roadblock. They exist to block our entry into the Garuberg Tower. You can beat them in battle, but they just respawn. Once we get the Eclipse Torch, they go down in a cutscene. Speaking of cutscenes, we meet Kira here, and that's about it. Gonna put them in the end of C tier, purely because they have a cutscene. And they remind me of the trees from the Evil Dead. Judah, worse than the trees. I despise these Exothools. They show up and steal the Eclipse Torch and escape to the Air Castle, which is the worst place in Algo. When we finally get to them, they say they're gonna mutilate us, which, damn, that's coming off pretty aggressive. While they are bit part characters, I kinda like both their banter, it's very evil and over the top, and I like their fight as well, which can be stressful. Why stressful? Well, first off, I don't want to die and have to spend any more time in the Air Castle. And secondly, we fight 3 enemies at the same time. 3 enemies that, if they are alive, can hit us with some pretty strong combo attacks. It's a classic battle where you have to race a bit to deal damage, since you want to get one of these guys down as soon as possible. Since 2 Exothools are easier to deal with than 3, and 0 is the right amount. You also feel a small sense of accomplishment beating these guys too, since they come at you in waves. I'm surprised, but I think I'm actually going to put these guys in B tier for being entertaining. Damn them for making me come to the air castle. This is all their fault. Cards on the table. I have never played any of the other Phantasy Star games all the way through. So while I know the Sheik is the main villain from Phantasy Star 1, I don't really have nostalgia for him. All I know him for is his dumb castle, and that castle is going to knock him down a tier to start. Seriously, hallways that go nowhere, paths that don't make any sense to exist in the same building as others, and an encounter rate that's insanely high. So the Sheik was brought back to life by some dark force a long time ago, and he's still trapped in his castle, and he looks sort of undead. But that's beside the point. He wants revenge on Lutz, who's now ruined for defeating him all those years ago. So he sets up a scheme to steal a torch, all for this moment. The Sheik is a tough boss, as he should be. Every attack he does can inflict significant damage. He has 2 AoEs, and his give us a break spell is sleep. And if that hits the right person at the right time, that could be game over. On the plus side, once you beat him, the air castle blows up and we never have to go there. I'd actually put him all the way up in A tier, just for the nostalgia. But minus a tier, because of his dumb castle, that's going to put him in B tier. And you know what? I like these Exathuls a little bit more too. Remember when I said I separated the Dark Force fights? This is why. I don't think Dark Force 2 is anything all that special. He sits at the top of the Garubuk Tower and is causing it to snow all the time on Desolace. And that's the story of Dark Force 2. So this all sounds like a low tier boss, and he would be, but look at it. That thing looks all sorts of cool. And it is Dark Force, so there's that going for it. You know what? I was going to put this in B tier, but we only live once, so we're going to put it in C tier. Have to make some engaging content. There's no way you're above that Chaos Sorcerer though. By the way, after we beat him, we got Fake Out Ending number 4. Technically, you can do this fight much sooner, after the Chaos Sorcerer encounter. But I never do it then, and so it becomes a bit of a joke of a fight. The Fractus encounter is one of the Hunters Guild missions, where you are sent to find the small child. Turns out that child had fallen into a crack in the earth, and was swallowed by the Fractus. I want to love this more than I do, since I've always loved the Phantasy Star ooze/slug design, but since I always do this encounter too late, I never think much of it. Perhaps it would mean more to me if I did it sooner. Still, C rank. Can't put him much lower or much higher. King Rappy is a bit better than the Fractus. Only a bit, because I mean, this dumb bird has nothing on the weird oozy slug design. Wait, you know what? No, the ooze is better. Anyway, so the backstory on King Rappy is alright, I guess. A villager has discovered a rare breed of birds and is rearing them in a cave close to town. He's doing a damn good job of it, and they multiply and start eating the crops, causing the villagers to be jerks to the birds, because, duh. So the man calls in the hunters to exterminate the king bird, but gets cold feet at the moment of truth. See, he wanted the bird to kill the hunters so the townsfolk would be more afraid of the birds. So yeah, maybe this story put it ahead of the ooze. No, I lied. The ooze reigns supreme. Disappointment. This battle disappoints me. You fight 3 Dominators at the end of the Silver Soldiers Hunters Guild mission. The Silver Soldier is the final mission, so you'd expect something spectacular because of this. Remember how awesome the Sandworm was? Exactly. This encounter is just 3 normal enemies. The story of this mission is pretty good, dealing with a rogue AI trying to destroy the other systems and androids trying to help protect the Algo system. The story is worth being the last mission. This thing though? No, it's not. We're gonna put you in the bin. Poser tier. Very disappointing. Dark Force the Third though, he's a lot of fun. Well, not so much Dark Force, but his human avatar Seth. You run into Dark Force, or Seth, on the way to Soldier's Temple where he's masquerading as an archaeologist, with an arsenal of dark magic spells. He's incredibly polite though, and he promises not to be a nuisance, so we bring him along. As we get to the top of the temple, the jig is up, and he transforms into a humanoid and less cool version of Dark Force. This should be a hard fight this time, given there's only 4 of us instead of 5, and we're not really that much stronger, but this fight goes pretty easily. Dark Force 3 is going straight to the B tier though, almost all due to Seth. Rest easy, good buddy. I gotta put him above Iglanova though. There are too many bosses that test you on Rykros. The Vars is one of them. You fight him in the strength tower to prove your strength? Anyway, this guy is easy and all he does is spam a multi-physical attack called Disruptor, which can sound scary, but if you get a barrier up, you'll only need to heal your casters, since Ren, Chaz, and Rika won't be taking much damage. They call this guy a test, but if you can't pass it at this point in the game, we've got issues, so I guess we'll go C tier for him. We're going to put him above King Rappy and the Fractus though, and above the Chaos Sorcerer. Saluz is another Guardian to test you. Testing your courage? Yeah, I don't know. Testing your wisdom might be a better test. Anyway, it goes down fairly easy too, but at least it varies up the attacks it does, and it's always a bit frightening to see Legion cast on you. I'm going to put this guy slightly ahead of Devars, for really no real reason other than I can, but I guess the real reason I'll say is at least he varies up his attacks. Style over substance might be the case here. The Profound Darkness is the final boss in Phantasy Star 4, and really the Phantasy Star series as a whole. It's been woven into the story at the end of the game to be the cause of everything that's happened so far in the story. I don't want to say this comes out of nowhere, but kinda? Almost all of the "you fool, it was me all along" villains are a little disappointing to me, since you don't have that emotional weight behind it. But since this is seen as a culmination of 4 games, it at least feels better than most of these. You do get the sense that this is the real deal though. The Profound Darkness is stylish as hell, featuring 3 forms. Each has its own design, each design getting better and better until the final form gets revealed, along with some final boss music that's fantastic at getting your blood pumping. Also, this isn't an easy fight. All told, I think there's close to 20,000 HP to push through between all 3 forms, and the final form starts dropping the gids to no one's enjoyment. The only way for some characters to survive this is for them to be buffed up. And surprise, it can nullify those too. I think we're going to end up putting this in A, just because it's a real fun encounter. So let's look at our list and re-rank anything if we need to. I feel bad having the Sandworm above the Profound Darkness, so we're going to change that. I think everything else is relatively fine. Maybe we'll throw poor Juza a bone and put him, above these poor carnivorous trees, because they don't even do anything. So that's the end of our list. Thanks for watching. Comments with your own rankings are welcome. I think I've settled into a format that I like. It's funny, these were supposed to be my throwaway content, but now I spend lots of time editing them. Lastly, like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more if you want. Take care, and someone please, please, please remake this game. I love it.